Hello and welcome once again to Hude Progress Reports. As always, we're here bubbling with energy to tackle the issues and bring to you solutions. How much progress is being made? What's left to be done? How far do we need to go? We take a look at some of the recent happenings in the humanitarian and development space, and we spotlight how solutions are being made to work across the globe. As always, I am Amadine Ogbewe. Welcome.
And I am Joe Neze. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome.
And also, as usual, we have with us Paul Oladipo to help us break things down today on Hude Progress Report. Hello, Paul. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, Amazon. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning,
How are
Paul.
you guys doing this morning?
Well,
We're
great.
good. We're here
How about you?
Doing well.
Okay.
We're ready to encourage everyone out there once again. Like we always say, be doing something in the process. As long as you're in the process, as long as you're making efforts, we will encourage you, we will spotlight those solutions, and we will, bring to you the good news that will encourage others to do more. So let's start straight off with the first news item of the day. Now, following the adoption of the Seville commitment at the fourth Financing for Development Conference, the FFD4, global leaders have launched the Seville Platform for Action, a bold framework to immediately implement over 130 targeted actions. The platform aims to mobilize financing for sustainable development goals, boost investment in developing countries, and address the growing development debt crisis. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres praised the SPA as a springboard for building a more inclusive and sustainable world, while Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez emphasized the urgency of restoring trust in multilateralism through tangible financial reforms. Despite the absence of the United States from the financial negotiations, Guterres stressed that political will from willing nations and innovative mechanisms like debt swaps and carbon taxes can still deliver the needed resources. Business leaders also joined the call to action, launching a communique with 5 priorities to unlock private capital, strengthen public-private cooperation, and improve financial access for small businesses. With over $1 billion in investable projects showcased by developing countries, the focus now shifts from pledges to implementation as leaders reaffirm that sustainable development is everyone's business. Well, I don't need to go into details about what has led to the need for financing to become a broader issue, particularly within recent times. And it's interesting to see what the different bodies and countries are trying to do to fill in for the gap. We always have these targets. For instance, there's a target of needing about $4 trillion just for climate alone. So you can imagine what the numbers look like on a grander basis. So what we are seeing, particularly some of the resolutions or suggestions we saw from the conference, included things related to climate, environmental tax, carbon tax, and all of that. And one thing I think is of note is the way there's an understanding that you have to basically, for lack of a better word, tax the richer to benefit the quote unquote those less privileged. And that's what we're saying with the more developed countries paying more to be able to help developing nations also progress infrastructure wise and others. So for me, the main thing is how innovative can we get in getting this financing, and how can it be sustainable? Because it's one thing where you depend on things that are now considered to be handouts or considered to be aid, and you might not really be able to stand on your own. So these bodies that also help, I'm talking about the UN and other organizations. Again, for me, it's looking to the innovative ways they get this done, because at the end of the day, we realize that you can't get these funds, but you have to be innovative about it and not dependent on one party or one source and then leaving you stranded.
I think I would come from a different route. That is the Sevilla's commitment. And, whenever we talk about commitment, these are what actually prompted the call for action, the pledges turning into implementation. And we can see the angle of ending poverty, making sure that there is human rights, reaffirming of human rights, and also establishment of small businesses as well, making sure that the people in Sevilla are living a very good life. And one thing that really, really struck me very positively is the fact that it's going towards the sustainable part of it, because it's not really enough to solve the problem of now. It's when you're solving a problem, you're actually solving a problem for the future so that it doesn't tend to come up again. And even though it's looking like it wants to resurface, there are strategies built on ground to make sure that it doesn't become worse or go back to where they are coming from. So the financing body, and it's a call for action. I look forward to a public-private partnership, people coming together, the rich contributing, making sure that the smaller countries or the regions are actually benefiting and, they are prospering in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, loans are not what they used to be like before. I mean, because you could acquire a loan of $1 million today, and then tomorrow, the real value of that $1 million you acquired 2 years ago has tripled or even sometimes doubled. And that is why they're looking into all of these things to look for a more sustainable way to help developing nations to finance all of the projects that they have to embark on. Because some of these projects are a must for them to embark on, and that is why we're talking about this. Most of these developing nations are in debts on debts, have debts on debts, and have to repay. They collect debts, they collect loans to pay to clear of debts, and then collect loans again to build infrastructures in their country. And that's what we're seeing. And that is why, just like the Secretary General has mentioned, that it is springboard to have more inclusive persons on board for inclusive growth and also for a more sustainable future, and also that we are all able to develop just as we all should. Let's take a look at our verified voices. We have 2 verified voices this time around. There are 2 very interesting ones. One is from Ngozi, but this is from UNDP, that's UN Development. They say that the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development comes at a critical moment in history. Partnerships are essential. The common goal is clear: building a financial structure that serves us all. And then and also we have this one from Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She says, in Seville, at the opening of the International Conference on Financing for Development, my speech was well received and focused on the following: the role of trade in helping raise export revenues and domestic financial resources, the need to make trade more inclusive of developing countries that have been left out, as well as poor regions in rich countries, repositioning the WTO to serve members better, and repurposing $2 trillion in harmful fossil fuel, agriculture, water, and fishery subsidies, of which the WTO has set a good example with the harmful fishery subsidies agreement, FSA, that should allow the repurposing of $22 billion. I also pointed out that in an environment where very few SDGs are being delivered, WTO has delivered SDG 14.6 through the FSA. Family photos, and then we have photos she posted photos of her and also some dignitaries at that particular event. SDG 14.6 talks about fishery, sustainable fishery, and that's what she's talking about there. They're talking that what WTO has done to try to look into that particular problem and look for more ways that fishery can also be sustainable in a way that we are not harming the environment, and that's very important, and that's lovely what they've done. And I think she mentioned a lot of things in her speech, and this is just few out of all of the things that she said, talking about debts on debts for developing nations, also talking about including poor regions, even in countries. Because it might shock you that a country might have a very high GDP, might be doing well, and then you see a very poor region in such countries. So it's more of including all of these things, and also developing countries as well, bringing them on board for world trade to ensure that they are not left out. I think that's the main goal. The goal is clear, to ensure that no one is left out. And even we need to see more developing countries being involved in world trade as time goes on.
Indeed. I think one of the key takeaways also is that for what she says, she references something the WTO is doing or has done, which is to say, we're not just talking theoretically here. There are actions on the ground, especially with the sustainable fisheries and other suggestions she made there, talking about moving from fossil fuels and the subsidies being put in that quote unquote harmful part to the environment. So I think it's all around things to consider. That's the WTO DG speaking. So, her words hold weight when it comes to financing on a world scale.
Obviously, for coming from the angle of gender, I'm so proud of her, honestly, and we are all proud of her. Let's move to the next news item we have. As the 2025 hurricane season kicks off on June 1st, with focus of unprecedented storm activity, researchers have introduced a groundbreaking tool to help coastal communities prepare for devastating floods. The new deep learning framework, known as Long Short-Term Memory Station Approximated Models, LSTM-SAM, enables rapid and cost-effective predictions of extreme water levels caused by heavy rainfall and storm surges. Unlike traditional resource-intensive flood models, LSTM-SAM uses past storm data to make accurate forecasts, even for regions with limited local data. This innovative transfer learning approach empowers emergency planners, local governments, and disaster response teams to make life-saving decisions in real time, including evacuation timing and infrastructure protection. Developed and tested along the Atlantic coast of the US, the model proved effective at predicting the onset, peak, and decline of storm-driven water levels, even reconstructing data for tide gauge stations damaged by hurricanes. Researchers plan to deploy this method throughout the 2025 season and have made the tool freely available via the Coral Labs GitHub repository, with the ability to run on a standard laptop within minutes. The model offers a vital solution for flood-prone areas, especially smaller towns and developing regions lacking access to high-powered computing or extensive environmental records. As hurricane frequency and severity increase, experts believe this tool could become indispensable in building resilient coastal communities. This is good news for me because whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, it's something that has come to stay, and it is there to solve problems. And one of it is the weather conditions, the hurricane that we are seeing right now. And we all know how whenever the storm comes in this season, it's quite alarming. It's something that it puts people, when there's this saying, when the people carry their chest on their hands, their heart on their hands, that's to tell you that people are living their daily lives filled with panic. But now this artificial intelligence is here to predict the coming of the hurricane, and to make sure that, okay, there will be an information sent out, especially to people that are living in danger areas, maybe to start evacuating from those areas, and to make sure that, okay, your properties are not lost, lives are not lost, and, people are not internally displaced. So it's very important to take this particular tool very, very serious, and for researchers to go into this and make sure that, okay, let us look for a particular tool that can help us to predict these weather conditions is something that we should applaud, and we look forward to it rescuing more lives, seen as a tool for rescue and to make sure that there is preparedness, especially when the disaster is coming forth. So that's it for me.
Indeed. It's also something that will help both governments and NGOs prioritize where the most care is needed or could possibly be needed. And away from that, it just exemplifies a good usage or a great application of a technology that is gaining a whole lot of conversation and ground, talking about artificial intelligence. Because when you take a look at the model of combining or aggregating years of data in terms of weather and climate, it shows that it's a more so machine learning and using enough data to be able to predict what's coming next. So I think it's one of those things that gives you a hope that, well, positive applications abound for any sort of technology like this. And with this, we could be seeing a shift. And for me, I just hope it continues to expand to the point where it also gets to the more local communities or rural communities, because I understand it requires certain technological equipments to work at the moment, but these things can always become scalable. So let's look forward to how that works. And it's good to see that it's being launched as the hurricane season has begun, so that even more data can be received and it can continue to probably save a life some other time. So it's kudos to the scientists and engineers doing that, who might have to go, do some of these things that might require some level of exposure.
Yeah, risk. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about collaboration here and there, and it's nice to see that even engineers, software engineers, and AI experts can also collaborate with climate scientists to come on board and create this wonderful magic that they have just done. Because in the real sense, it's magic, to predict the future. And it's really wonderful to see all of this happening in our environment. I think one thing that interests me is the fact that it just requires minimal data, and also it doesn't require so much of high-level computing and all of that. So you don't really need that great of a machine to be able to predict when what is coming towards you. And it's really amazing to see. It is wonderful to see. It is great. And also, another thing is the fact that it's also going to be accessible to even communities with low data, because there are some communities that don't have so much of data in their environment. But quickly, let's take a look at our verified voices to see what our verified voices say on this particular topic. Talking about the use of AI to predict hurricanes is a wonderful one from Smarter Safer. As the Hurricane 2025 season begins, a new AI model is forecasting storm flooding in data-scarce areas. The LSTM and SAM provides faster and more affordable predictions, enabling smarter decisions while a hurricane approaches. And this is wonderful. And this is what we're talking about. It's smarter and safer. Now, I remember you mentioning some parts of Asia where they will always go and check the water levels to see whether to run or not. But now, with this particular AI, now they know what exactly is coming to them, and they know how to plan. Talking about for government, for NGOs, for aid workers, everybody is on board and everybody plans with this particular information that they are able to get from the machine now.
Yeah.
Indeed. Again, smarter, better. Let's just keep saying more. At the end of the day, whatever we see science to be as at now, there's always people working to see how they can make that even better. So we'll focus on that as it develops. For now, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be back with our final news item of the day. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now, Namibia has officially launched its first export consignment under the African Continental Free Trade Area, that is the AfCFTA, marking a significant milestone in the country's economic integration into the rest of Africa. The historic event took place recently in the port city of Walvis Bay, with Namibian salt being the first commodity exported under the agreement. Minister of International Relations and Trade, Selma Ashipla Musavi, stated that the launch positions Namibia to benefit from Africa's single market and diversify its trading partnerships beyond traditional blocs like the Southern African Customs Union and the Southern African Development Community, highlighting the broader potential of the AfCFTA. the minister said that the agreement opens access to new markets across West, North, and Central Africa as a flagship initiative under the African Union's Agenda 2063. The AfCFTA aims to create a unified market of over 1.4 billion people with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion. Namibia signed the agreement in 2018 and ratified it in 2019, with a crucial step taken in December 2024 when it gazetted its tariff offer, paving the way for this inaugural trade. The development promises expanded market access, increased competitiveness for Namibian businesses, and a boost to economic growth and diversification. Well, kudos to Namibia there. Interesting that their first export is salt. But the whole point of the AfCFTA is to ensure that trade is easy across the regional bloc. I feel when more people came to this, we're going to get the results we want, because we have, like the idea states, we're trying to open the market for about 1.4 or 1.6 billion people within the region, so that trade is easy. And to get this done, tariffs and other such taxes that are imposed are things that we're seeing about 90% of it being removed according to that agreement. And that really helps to promote inter-boundary or cross-boundary exchanges, because you know that it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg just to move one little item from this location to this location. So I think it's good that Namibia has keyed in. We saw that they ratified the Gazette in 2024, just last year. So they are fully becoming a part of the AfCFTA, and I hope that they're able to maintain their zeal and their pace at the moment.
Speaking of zeal and pace, that's to export more items. Exporting salt being their first is a good one for me, and they should also look out for other things they can also export. One thing for me, importing is just there, but when you start exporting, that's to show that you have taken a bold step. And when exportation begins, it shows that you are now a developed country, even though you're still developing, but that bold step is there, and it's commendable, I must say. I still look forward to diversification of their economy and competitiveness. When you start exporting, other countries start seeing what you're doing, and then you start being top of the charts. And it's a good one for Namibia, and I look forward to more. And we'll all go there to see what's going on.
It's actually one of a very recognized tourist destination. Namibia.
Well, before we even go there, let's we should actually salute them for what they are doing, and it is really amazing. And we also want to see more intercontinent trade, more of that. Countries within Africa trading within Africa instead of looking outside of Africa, just as a means to boost our own economy. And that's one of the things we're seeing here. But with this, right, we should be looking out for more economic diversification in Namibia. We should be looking at the more market access, increased access to the market, and also competitiveness, even within local manufacturers. We've seen more of that, and we should be seeing them doing more of this, being more in the scene. And then I think it's going to be a good one. Talking about what the president of the WTO said, talking about how to include developing nations into world trade. This is a very great step in doing that with this particular one. Very soon we'll be seeing them moving exporting outside of Africa. Let's take a look at our verified voice to see what they're saying on this particular topic. It's been an interesting one so far. This is from the AfCFTA Secretariat official. They say that today, Namibia marked a major milestone as it officially commenced trading under the African Continent Free Trade Area with an official launch event in Wales Bay. Having signed the agreement in 2018, ratified it early in 2019, and gazetted its tariff concessions in 2024, Namibia has steadily laid the groundwork to become an active partner under the AfCFTA. Today's launch not only opens a new opportunity for local producers and exporters, but also reaffirms Namibia's unwavering commitments to advance continental economic integration and boost intra-African trade. And that's hashtag creating one African market. And that's what we're talking about, to boost intercontinental trade. I know that there are a number of exports that we do outside continents, exporting things outside. But now let's just look inwards. And that's what we're seeing now. And then with time, we'll see more of this, more nations partnering with other nations, exchanging goods and services. And then at the end of the day, we'll see the African economy boosting.
I think one other thing that other African countries should learn from Namibia is the fact that they are being committed, the intentional act of the intentionality of it, because people used to say, start it. It's not really easy. It's easy to start, but it's not easy to continue or to sustain that particular strategy. And I must really commend Namibia once again. And other countries should also adopt this particular lifestyle, because we saw that from 2014 to 2019, the space, it's enough to give up, but they were still committed, and they showed that commitment to the African Free Trade area to say that, okay, we are ready to do this. And of course, they've actually started. Well done.
I think it's not just that. Other countries also look inward and see there are some goods that they have in excess. Instead of leaving it in probably their stores to decay or to spoil, right? They should look into ways that they could export it. Exactly. Look for a country that needs what you have and then just give it to them and in exchange for money.
It's been enlightening so far. Thank you so much, guys. That's our round of the program for today. Do join us next time on Hude Progress Report. As for now, I have to say goodbye. See you next time. I'm Amadine Obewe.
And I am Joan Eze. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I'm Paul Ladipo. Thanks for watching.